Okay, so this thing called compliance. The goal of the compliance program is to provide a tool that strengthens the efforts of healthcare providers to prevent and reduce fraud and improper conduct. So the whole point of having a compliance program is to prevent fraud from happening, and when fraud does happen, we give you a structure on how to report fraud. Okay? So no longer will you think, oh, fraud is happening, I'm going to turn my head and ignore it. You are now legally responsible after this training to report any fraud. If it's internal fraud, we will go through our internal process. If it is fraud that happens outside of this company that you are aware of, all I can say is you are legally responsible to report that. And that doesn't mean you got to go report your past employers. Like, I know some of you would love to. But just know that from this point on, you all are legally obligated to report fraud. Okay? Part 1. Conducting internal monitoring and auditing through the performance of periodic audits. That is the first thing that we will need to be doing on a consistent basis. I would like to shoot for quarterly audits, and Raintree is going to make the auditing process a lot easier. There won't be a paper chart to go through. 90% of us went through one paper chart audit. Did it suck?
Yes.
Yes. So this will make it a lot easier. Chart reviews will occur at discharge and at other times during the course of treatment. Each clinician will be assigned one peer chart review quarterly. The following will be reviewed for accuracy. And you know all this, the physician's order and or the current auth, parent intake packet with appropriate signatures, current ROI signed within 12 months of review. Each billed eval has a report, and or evaluations done at other agencies are in Raintree. POT is written from this evaluation. Each auth period has a progress note and physician's order. Each billed eval and therapy visit per patient ledger has an eval or treatment note with appropriate signatures. Each canceled or no-show note has a note with appropriate signatures indicating cancellation or no-show and reason why. Also put reason if known and whether a letter or phone call was placed. This was all written in our old language, but you all can take our old language and put our new language in. I know we're learning our new Raintree language, but you get the gist of what this means in our old language. And as time goes on, our compliance fraud investigator will be taking this and making it Raintree-ified. And then the discharge summary if patient has been discharged. This is all old school for everybody, okay? Please use chart review form for specific items to be reviewed. The chart review form has been modified. Yes,
So
Julianne.
from now on, when chart reviews are completed, it's going to be only Raintree documents, or is it going to go back, and if the child had stuff in the T drive, is it going to go back to the T drive?
From now on, the question is, will we only review Raintree documents? The answer is our primary focus will be Raintree documents. If you need to find an initial eval somewhere, you will have to pull the paper chart. If you need to find a physician's order that, for the year period, say it's TRICARE and we don't necessarily have it, you will have to go back. But for the most part, 90% will be Raintree documents, and that will be quarterly. And so in November, December timeframe, your first chart review will be assigned, because we'll have enough data in Raintree at that point to do it. Part 2 of the compliance plan is implementing compliance and practice standards through the development of written standards and procedures. Now, we're very lucky that we have an employee manual, when that man came to investigate Lisa's work here, and it really is an investigation. You know, Medicaid sends out a social worker from a third party using our tax dollars to do that, and that third party interviewed me for about a half hour. Kathy, did I even call you in? It was Kathy.
Once or twice, just for different questions.
Yeah, so, and then they interview Lisa, and then they give Lisa a document. And basically, the whole interview is surrounded by what do you do about fraud? And how do you report it? That's what the whole interview was surrounded by. And he was quite impressed that we had written standards and procedures. Coding and billing. Press it again. Okay. This is Raintreeified. Therapy Playground does not bill for services until the therapist has submitted the appropriate billing code, treatment diagnosis code, and documentation to the office staff. So what does this mean? From now, like right now, if I opened up my dashboard, I probably have 25 notes from Dave and Susan that I haven't done anything with. Until I sign off on those notes, Cindy cannot bill for them. Until all of your paperwork is done on a visit, it will not be billed. And I'm not going to go into the reasons why, but people who have been here more than a year know the reasons why that we're implementing that. The office staff then bills for the service as outlined by the providing therapist, making sure the documentation support the service billed. So, our Cindy is going to make sure that there is a note. It's not going to be reviewing for quality, but she is going to make sure that everything that there needs to happen to bill is going to be billed. She's not going to guess. Not that she guesses now, but there will be no guesses. If there's not a co-signature, it's not getting billed. When the remittance is received, Melissa, office staff, then ensures the appropriate code was billed and paid for. Any billing errors will be reported to the insurance company within 60 days of the error being found by the staff. That is the Office of the Inspector General policy. If we keep money that is not ours beyond 60 days, we are prosecutable. Okay? So if you all misbill something and realize it the next week, you need to immediately notify Cindy so that she can get that amount back to the insurance company, and we can document this was an error and it's been returned. And Melissa helps in that process. 60 days, that's all they give us. Provider numbers. Upon employment, each provider will fill out the appropriate insurance credentialing forms. Services will not be billed under this provider until the credentialed process is complete, Medicaid site visits completed, and identification numbers are received from the insurance company. For example, Vivica supervises Sarah and supervises Megan. We have not billed any Medicaid visits on Vivica's caseload, on Megan's caseload, or on Sarah's caseload until we received the official Vivica is a credentialed provider in the North Carolina Medicaid program. That happened this week. So we can now go back and bill for all of that. But I want you to think about the money sitting in nowhere land that we cannot have access to until that is done. Credentialing is no longer something you will get to. Credentialing is something that will happen before your orientation period is up. Your NPI, your license, all of that will be, everything will be credentialed. your CBRS working towards those first 2 weeks of work, you will have to sit down, and some of us, one of us lovely ladies, with our hair pulled back because we didn't have enough time to do it this morning, we will have to review your transcripts, your CEUs, and get a plan in place for supervision and how we're going to meet the plan. We will meet quarterly to make sure that you are meeting your supervision plan to get it done. We have no way around this. You need to have your full credentials as soon as possible to bill for these things. Any questions about that? Medical necessity for treatment. There is a whole blooming document in your employee manual about medical necessity for treatment. I am not going to sit here and chat about it at length. Therapy Playground has decided that all documents must adhere to Medicaid guidelines for documentation. Oh, but my kid's TRICARE. I don't care. Medicaid or nothing, okay? Because that TRICARE patient, they could get out, they could qualify for Medicaid, and then what? Then you got to do your Medicaid documentation anyway. Oh my God, why don't you mean to put in every activity? Oh, this is such a pain. Yes, you have to put in every activity. There's no way around it. I'm really sorry. I know it's a lot of extra work, but that is the Medicaid standard. And we will now, every note that walks out of this building, we will have up to the Medicaid standard. Because if we are up to the Medicaid standard, no one will take our money back. This guideline can be read in its entirety here. You all have this document in your employee file. It's called Medical Necessity for Treatment. Please feel free to read it. It's just so enlightening. And if you're a PT and OT, you're the luckiest people on the face of the world, because yours is this long and speeches is 15 pages. So you all are very lucky. Kickbacks and self-referrals. Let's talk about this. We cannot self-refer for physical, occupational, or speech therapy. So, Sarah sees a kid and says to Vivica, oh my, this kid needs OT. He's all up and crazy and he can't sit still, and every time I hug him he calms down and participates. Vivica can then write up a document that says this child may need an OT evaluation or does need an OT evaluation in my professional opinion. That document is then sent to the physician for signature. Is that a kickback or self-referral? No. Why?
It's the same from us.
Because there is a middleman making that referral. Okay. What if we employed a physician here? That's a kickback. That is a self-referral. The patient's family and the prescribing physician will make the determination what agency the referral will go to. It's not our problem that they referred back to us. So that is not considered a kickback. So if you hear anybody talking about that we're stealing referrals or it's a kickback, it's not. Because the physician has made a determination, or TRICARE has made a determination that that referral is coming back to us. So it's not a kickback.
What about on the, it happens frequently, like Kim at Rainbow will be seeing a kid for speech, and then Kim from Rainbow calls and says, hey, I think I need to send that kid over there for OT as well. Send me an order and I'll have the doctor sign.
That is fine. They are requesting that. You may want to verbally write that in comments.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it okay, so I had a feeding kid, this has happened to me twice, where the service coordinator's like, you guys request the referral for speech because you can do it faster than we can. Then we request a referral for speech, and then I've had cases where the CDSA is not there, and obviously they just want to stay with us. Is that okay, because we're referring out still?
Because the parent has made the choice.
Okay.
The parent has, press escape.
Press it.
the parent has been given an option. It would be like for PTs don't need, you guys don't need a script in North Carolina to necessarily treat. So you guys could, just keep everybody in-house. But that's not how we do it. We use a middleman. As long as there's a middleman, it's okay. Employees of Therapy Playground do not give or accept gifts of more than $25. So Kim is the only one exempt from this rule. Kim is the only contractor in the room. Everyone else cannot give or accept a gift of more than $25. I am not going to say anything else on that subject. Next. Retention of records. All records will be kept at Therapy Playground's facility for a period of 7 years from the last date of service, not first, last. Medical records will be kept in a file folder in a locked file cabinet if on paper, or in a locked apartment if on paper. Electronic medical records will be kept on a secure server with password protection and appropriate user rights. Do you want to address that at all?
That's just when you log onto your computer here, you have a password. That's what that is. So that's all.
Man of little words. In the event that the practice closed, the owner would continue to pay for the phone line and would be the point of contact for all medical records. In the event the practice is sold, the new owners would be the point of contact for all medical records. That's just a statement that has to be put in there. We're not getting ready to put the shingle out, okay? Okay, part 3. Designating a compliance officer to monitor compliance efforts and enforce practice standards. As documented in the February 2012 Medicaid Bulletin, Therapy Playground will adhere to the following. Each provider has an obligation and must screen all employees and contractors to determine whether any of them have been excluded. CMA will require this obligation as a condition of enrollment into the Medicaid program. We have to search the HHS OIG website monthly by the names of an individual or entity to capture exclusions and reinstatements that have occurred since the last search. So, for example, when we search Sherry, we have to search Sherry Adams Walker, Sherry Adams Logan, Sherry Logan, Sherry Walker.
Sherry Lynn Adams.
Sherry Lynn Adams. Okay? We have to search all of those names to ensure that she has not committed fraud on any of those names. If she is in the exclusion database, then she cannot practice from anywhere from 1 to 5 years through Medicaid and TRICARE. Or PMCS, or the program formerly known as PMCS. I feel like I'm Prince. I'm going to say this to all of you. If you default on a federal student loan, there is a great chance that you will wind up on this exclusion website. If you are in the middle of bankruptcy, chances are you will not have that happen. But if there is any default on a federal student loan, you may wind up on this list, and we would have no choice but to let you go. So please, if there's any issues, please contact your lender. Yes.
Quick question. After we've searched Sherry that many times, because we just hired her and we searched for her under all 15 names that she's ever used, every month when we check it now, we would only need to check Sherry Logan, because if it's updated, it's only on her actual legal name now. If she was committing fraud and something had happened, it now would be just under her her legal name now, correct? We don't have to check all 5 names every month.
Right, and that's between you and the fraud compliance investigator, because that role is going to leave you and go to that person.
Okay.
So on this exclusion website, it has anyone who has committed fraud via Medicaid, TRICARE, anyone who's been prosecuted and convicted for that fraud. Okay? Goes by NPI and name. We also have to look at the practice, who's referring to us, and who else? And the contractor. So Kim, we also got to do that. Immediately report to the appropriate regional office of the OIG, Office of Investigators, or DMA, any exclusion information discovered. So let's say the fraud officer finds someone on the list and it's within the last month. We have to refund all the money and we have to call the OIG because that person would need to be prosecuted for even billing Medicaid, TRICARE. Does anybody have any questions about parts 1, 2, and 3?
Question.
Melissa.
Say there is a child that you go and see and the parent is not there. Say they're at like a daycare or something, and we have not gotten signed permission from that parent to do the evaluation, but you went ahead and did it anyway. But you have not gotten any of the background information, but you have the evaluation and it's just sitting there.
Is
Are
the
you-
CDSA present?
It's not a CDSA kid either.
Then no.
So then are we in a fraud situation because we did the eval, you billed for it, but you cannot write the evaluation because you have no information or any signed papers from that parent?
You would need to call the parent and arrange a time for them to come to Therapy Playground to fill out that information.
And if you did and they just don't show up or don't call you back?
Yeah,
or-
we can't do the eval. Really and truly.
Okay.
It's not a billable
So
service.
what do you do in that situation?
We unbill the service.
And from this day forward, should we just not do that eval if we don't have what we need from the parent
Yes.
first?
Which hopefully with Raintree it'll get better.
So in the case that it was a CDSA kid and the service coordinator didn't show up for the eval,
You can still do it.
you can still
Because
do
they
it.
have they have a release for us. They have signed permission that an evaluation can take place.
And that,
Our documentation is just our safeguard.
and that counts with re-evals and things like that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so as far as feeding evaluations are concerned, do we have like a document that says what is appropriate for billable services?
We used to at the CDSA, they used to give us that that a billable service used to have to meet this criteria, this criteria, and this criteria. I think in our cases that you just have to address a goal for 8 minutes.
What about for an evaluation though? So what if like?
No, I think that that's an ASHA question.
Because you know the kid I talked to you about that I'm going to refer out. Like I'm really concerned about that because no actual food was administered because I was.
Call the action line.
Yeah.
Call the action line and then email everybody. The action line for those who are members of ASHA, the action line is there for you for that purpose. They will answer fraud questions for you. Okay. Anybody else? 1, 2, or 3? We only got 4 more left. Plus 45 minutes of videos. Part 4, conducting appropriate training and education or practice standards and procedures. Therapy Playground has a training and education program to ensure business practices in the areas of compliance and encoding and in billing training. This training will occur under the direction of the compliance officer and their designees. So basically we've taught the office staff how to bill and how to interpret what you write. And everybody feels comfortable with that, right? Everybody feels the office staff does a great job on that. Next. All employees and contractors of Therapy Playground will receive the compliance training. Training will be a combination of self-study, webinars, and direct instruction. Training will occur during the orientation phase of employment. Subsequent training will occur when there are policy and procedure updates and or yearly as needed. Compliance is a condition of employment. If employees and contractors do not adhere to the compliance policies, they will be terminated. And that's from the OIG, that's not from me. Compliance training. Each employee and contractor of Therapy Playground will be required to watch the webinars on the OIG website. Hit that heat module. They call them the heat modules because they're the heat. Can you close that back blind, please? And do we need, I don't think we're going to get any better on those. Okay, so we're going to play these videos. Are you ready? So, coding and billing training. Each staff member responsible for auths and billing will receive training in the following areas. Coding requirements, so what codes mean what service. Claim development and submission process. Signing a form for a physician without the physician's authorizations, which is illegal. Proper billing standards and procedures and submission of accurate bills for services or items rendered to federal health care program beneficiaries, and the legal sanctions for submitting deliberately false or reckless billing. Next. Part 5 is responding appropriately to detected violations through the investigation and allegations of disclosures of incidents to appropriate government entities. Upon receipt of a report or a reasonable indication of a suspected noncompliance, it is important that the compliance officer look into the allegations to determine whether a violation of applicable law or requirements of the compliance program has occurred. If so, decisive steps will be taken to correct the problem. The compliance officer will interview the provider, the family of the patient, and any other professionals involved in the care of the patient to determine if noncompliance has occurred. Next. For potential criminal violations, Therapy Playground will contact the OIG as well as Medicaid or TRICARE to alert them to the suspected noncompliance. For overpayment issues, TP will take action once the overpayment has been identified and alert the insurance company. Prompt repayment will occur based on the timetable of the insurance company. TRICARE takes a little bit longer to get their money back. The compliance officer will make a determination whether the person who has violated the compliance policy should be retrained, disciplined, or terminated. A 3-member team will make this decision together. Part 6, developing open lines of communication to keep practice employees updated regarding compliance activities. Okay, so there's an open door policies. You know, you can come to talk to me, you can come talk to the fraud officer. I am going to meet with all employees monthly, talk about your concerns through monthly meetings. Employees and contractors will be encouraged to report conduct believed to be erroneous or fraudulent. Employers and contractors will be made aware that failure to report is a violation of the compliance policy. All reports will be anonymous and held in the strictest of confidence. There will be no retribution for reporting erroneous or fraudulent information. The compliance officer will make a determination once all the facts are investigated and the appropriate agencies contacted. Okay. The compliance fraud investigation officer will complete the compliance investigation summary and make appropriate follow-up recommendations on a case-by-case basis. Anytime a parent, therapist, EISC, or some other person alleges some type of misconduct, the office staff will take a message and send it to the investigator. The office staff will no longer take information about what has gone on. The office staff will say, I need to refer this to our compliance fraud investigator. Speech findings will be reported to the clinical director and the lead SLP. All other disciplines will be reported to the clinical director and assistant clinical director. Then the committee of 3 would make a determination on where to go with the complaint. The compliance officer for Therapy Playground is Jennifer Dibb. The compliance officer is responsible for the following items, which will be delegated to the compliance fraud investigator. Your compliance fraud investigator is Audra. Audra will be the person to investigate every allegation of fraud that comes through this building. So it could be as minor as a daycare provider saying, I haven't seen the therapist for the last 4 weeks, or as major as the clinician's only staying 8 minutes a session. Audra will oversee and monitor the implementation of the compliance program. She will establish methods such as periodic audits in combination with Kelly to improve the practice's efficiency and quality of service and to reduce the practice vulnerability to fraud and abuse. She will periodically revise the compliance program in light of changes in the needs of the practice or changes in laws. She will develop, coordinate, and participate in training programs that focus on the components of the compliance program and seek to ensure the training materials are appropriate. And she will investigate any report of allegation concerning possible unethical or improper business practices and monitor subsequent corrective actions and compliance. And she will do this in combination with me. She will also ensure that the OIG list of excluded individuals has been checked with respect to all employees, medical staff, and independent contractors. And Melissa will be handing that job off to Audra. This is the compliance investigation summary. This is what Audra will be using to investigate every instance of compliance. The date, the name of the reporting party, the description, the investigation results, the name of the person responsible for taking action, and the follow-up action taken. This document will be presented to the group of 3 and then immediately scanned into Bamboo so that no one else has access to it, and it will be shredded. The original will be shredded. So any compliance investigation that occurs will remain confidential. And we feel that Audra is the person who is very equipped to keep things confidential and do a thorough job of investigating in an unbiased manner. So we're really happy about Audra taking on that position. Any questions about that? Okay.
Okay.
Habits that can lead to fraud. Not signing in at daycares. Dave's got a potential solution for that the team needs to look at. Not staying in regular contact with parents. Potential solutions. We need some for that. Not giving a child the full allotted time for therapy. Potential solutions for that. And I'm not talking about motor people going 8 minutes into the next unit and stopping there. I'm talking about only giving a speech session 8 minutes and calling it a day. We need to brainstorm other work habits that can lead to fraud and formulate a committee. And Kelly and Audra will be heading up that committee. And if you are interested in participating in the committee, please email one of them. And, maybe once a quarter, you all can get together and really talk about, okay, what work habits do we have that lead to fraud? In daycares, do we need to have a designated folder that everybody uses? Like even Vivica. Vivica might not see parents, although she's seeing their kids. What is the way that we want to maintain contact with families? How do we keep families informed? How do we keep EISCs informed? We really need to make sure that our work habits are above board in all areas. Any questions about compliance before we do the next slide? I know it's a lot of boring stuff, but it's a lot of stuff everybody needs. And, I don't think we all realized the implications, did we? After sitting through this, aren't you like, wow? Like, who knew that there was a whole company, that the federal government set up to monitor us?